for joining us today for this very valuable talk. We will get started with an introduction to the Ignition project, and then we will continue with Professor Karina's talk. So, Nishla, the floor is yours to start with.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me share my screen very quickly. Yes. So I hope you can see my screen, and I will go to. Okay, can you see the screen, and also can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
loud and
so
clear.
this is yeah, thank you very much. So with the yeah, from so the next go back. So I'm more familiar with actually Teams, but it will be okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Necla Karabulut, and I'm a lecturer and researcher at Hansa University of Applied Sciences in Groningen. And I am part of this Ignition project, which stands for actually European Digital Literacy Coalition for Inclusion, Collaboration and Innovation in Higher Education. And so we started this project actually together with four partners. So there are four partners involved in this project. And in this family photo, you see some members of these beautiful people. And then, as I said, there are four members, and one of them is Hansa University of Applied Sciences from the Netherlands, Groningen. And then another partner is Southeast Technological University from Waterford in Waterford, Ireland. And they are the ones who are organizing and hosting this event now. And thank you for that. And then we have partners from Germany, Bremen, Hochschule Bremen, and also we have partners from Braganza, Portuguese Institute of Polytechnic de Braganza. So we all came together actually for one purpose, and our goal is to strengthen our efforts to increase awareness and enhance digital literacy and inclusion of teaching staff, students, and external parties we collaborate with. And for that purpose, we created a model. And of course, we had a lot of meetings, and then we did our research. And then what you see on the screen describes Ignition in a nutshell. And in this model, there are three core processes. And one of them is people. Of course, people is about uh, people who are involved in the project. And then we also have technology processes. And so those technology processes are supposed to support these learning process. And for that, we have designed a couple of tasks, a couple of project outcomes. And we started with forming digital agenda and framework. And in that digital agenda, we have 5 priorities for our Ignition. So each partner, when we work together and we are looking at these topics, and then we are leading our activities based on these prioritized points. And this framework, digital agenda and framework, is based on European framework for the digital competence of educators. And then we also have designed a couple of toolkits, and in these toolkits we are trying to facilitate these increasing digital skills and awareness in our institutions, students, educators, and external stakeholders. And then, of course, we are also trying to build community of practice where we can achieve constant improvement and development of our digital literacy skills, and then learn from each other and share our practices. So today's event is also part of community of practice. And we are also organizing a challenge lab. So in this challenge lab, what we do, um, we are working with regional stakeholders. So we are contacting external parties in our regions, and we are collecting challenges from them, and then we are introducing them to students and educators to work with. And while working on these challenges, of course, external parties, students, and educators increase their digital skill set at the same time. So this is we are getting help from our partners, external partners, and also we are giving it back to the education and also the regional development. And this is Ignition in a nutshell. And this is, you can see our website. So please follow us on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you can find Ignition Erasmus page and also on Instagram. And so please let us know what you think and follow us on our social media profile. So this is in a Ignition in a nutshell. Okay, now I will stop sharing. Um,
Great. Thank you very much, Nashla. Thanks for introducing the work that we do. And yes, I invite everyone to start a conversation with us. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Karina Gonzalez with two doctoral degrees, one from computer architecture from La Laguna, and a second in social science and education from the University of Huelva. Some of her recent work includes personalized gamification for learning and the artificial intelligence on education, transforming the way we teach and learn. And that one is in Spanish, but it is worth a read as well. Professor Karina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dan. First of all, I would like to thanks for this invitation to Neil and Madelon to be part of this webinar and community of practice of the Ignition project. For me, it's an opportunity to talk with you about this topic that I think that is a very hot topic in education. And well, the name is Digital Gamification for Inclusive Education. But I think that during the talk, I'm going to talk about gamification and inclusive gamification. I think so. This, if we work on the design of inclusive gamification, we produce more engaged and adaptive and inclusive education also. Well, I'm from University of La Laguna. It's a public university in Canary Islands in Spain, close to Africa. But I'm from the computer science engineering department. But also I teach and research in a multidisciplinary team with people from professionals from education, psychology, design, etc. So this is my view of things. It's a interdisciplinary research and view. So I organized the presentation, the talk in four main topics. First, I'm trying to introduce the core concepts of gamification and the importance of the gamification in education and for inclusive education. And then I'll introduce some concepts related to gamification and education. Then the main strategies, tools, and some real case showcase examples on how to implement these tools and strategies, or some cases for inclusive education. And finally, I'll present conclusions, the main conclusions, and some quiz to test you about this talk. So, well, let me start with the beginning of what is gamification. Gamification is a limitation of game because it extracts some characteristic of the games, some games elements, and incorporate them in non-game environments or in non-game contexts. In education, the main objective is to increase the motivation of the activities that we are performing with gamification. Uh, there are a lot of areas where gamification is proven that that work very well, and gamification and education is one of them. But relating to the definition of gamification, the first appears in 2002 with pills, but it's just an accident or by accident because Peeling is a game designer, is electronic designer, um, found that that gamification could be useful, put some game elements in electronic transactions. But after, in 2011, the Tardin et al. Explore or try to define the gamification concept. And this is the main definition that we are using in gamification, is the use of game design elements in non game contexts. But well, with a colleague, we studied the gamification, the structure of the game, and the Huizinga philosophy. And this is a limited version of of the game. Gamification does not imply to develop a game, a complete game. Just extract some and done in education, we can, for example, found that maybe create fun experiences could be useful, but it's not necessary at all. We can use some elements, for example, point or something like that, and could be named gamification also, but it's not a game. So the gamification continues increasing the interest in different areas, including education, because it has the ability to make learning more engaging, interactive, and inclusive. This is because our natural as human, our natural, way to learn through play, through game. This is one of the main advantages that we have in using gamification in education. But of course, it's an active methodology. We can see gamification as an active methodology in education. And using gamification, we can promote the collaboration, the problem solving, the critical thinking, different abilities and skills that we can promote using this active learning methodology. And in inclusive education, we can use to create personalized learning experiences. The feedback that we can, in the design, we can design also immediate feedback for each user in digital platforms. And this is a powerful tool for us to inclusive education. As core concepts, we can mention we studied the authors in the research, there are a lot of components that we can, but Werbash use these three main components: mechanics, dynamics, and elements or components of gamification. If we can see in the pyramid of gamification elements, we can see that the components could be avatar badges or elements that we can use, collections, gifting, leaderboards, levels, points. The mechanics are, for example, the talents, the way that we combine these components into the rules of the the game or the activity that we are designing. For example, with the competition mixed with collaboration or transaction or the structure of rewards, for example. The progression or the emotions that we provoke through gamification could be, defined as dynamic. The narrative, for example, is a core component of in education is important, or some authors may point that narrative is a very good strategy or dynamic to motivate learners. So we can see these elements combined in the design, and as educators, we can use all of these to create a gamified experience or gamified learning experiences. But the gamification could be, very simple. We can apply some simple elements like point, PBL, point badges and leaderboards. And this is a gameplay-driven experience, for example. Most of the experiences contains these mechanics and these elements in the gamification design. But we can also put social experience. I'll explain after why it's important to put some social experience in the gamification activities. And we can use also the big data analytics and to create some personalized and contextual experience. And some apps, for example, has this capacity, this potential to introduce this to create a personalized and contextual experience. This is an evolution of the gamification. So from the very basic gamification using PBL to these all elements based on data and artificial intelligence to create this kind of personalized experience. This is a balance that we need to note in the evolution. And also, if we need to create a good experience, we need to mix the the motivation, the extrinsic and intrinsic motivation in the in the game elements that we put in the activity. So we can see as a path of design, where the first step is to define what are our goals in the design, in the game design, in the gamification design. What are the target behaviors that we want to promote in our learners? Then we need to study what type of user or players we have, then design the journey or using different strategies in the gamification path. And after we need to design the action feedback loops. So we need to think as game designers when we are designing a gamified activity or gamified experience. Well, this a brief, some summary of core core gamification concepts. So let me, start with the gamification and education, because and always, in the traditional education, we put and we use points, to say that you are good or not. You pass or not. We have scores in our traditional education, but gaming improves all who improve or different skills. That is this is the we have research that demonstrate that in neuroscience that gaming is improving other skills, is promoting other skills. So we need to ensure that we are thinking in an active methodology like gamification. We are not doing the traditional, the traditional scoring with leaderboards, points, etc. We need to, try to provoke to promote other kind of skills, no? In this point, I think that the success of gamification in education, with teachers, with educators, is because we can design gamification without any technology. This is unplugged gamification. We can create gamify activities using cards, using game elements, but without any digital components or platforms or devices. But we can use with digital platform devices, etc. Gamification. We can design gamification using digital elements, platforms, and tools. And this is plug gamification. And we have a lot of tools to design this kind of gamification. But in the middle, we can use in the path, in the experience, in the design of experience, we can use unplug gamification and plug gamification in some points. If we are designing a long-term experience in gamification. So we can see that gamification can be hybrid too. So, well, this is a plug and unplug and hybrid, but some authors also note that gamification is one of the best solutions for interactive learning systems in learning to design in platforms this kind of gamification activities, because we can also apply or think in these platforms to the differences and the diversity that we have in our classrooms with our students. So we can decide personalized path to these learners and adapt the content and adapt the talent, etc., to these kind of learners. So could be a very good strategy to use for e-learning. Well, in the regarding to strategies, tools, and examples, I would like to start with strategies, because according Cook, any process that meet the following points can be transformed into a game or a gamified activity. The activity can be learned, the user's actions can be measured, feedbacks can be delivered in a timely manner to the user. You can observe that education and e-learning platforms are a good process to gamify. So the education can be gamified. And we can see some strategies. For example, use the basic PBL to, for example, think about the self-determination theory, think some strategies promoting the autonomy, the social need, or the need to be recognized by the peers, or and we can think also in terms of what kind of behaviors we want to avoid or we want to promote. And we can use, for example, the folk behavioral model and in the design of the gamification activity or experience. And the one of the, this is in game design is the, when we design is the balancing. We can use the PBL, the levels, the achievements, the virtual goods, or contents that are blocked. And then if you solve some problem, we can unblock this content and see the progress, for example, in the learning experience. So we need to combine everything to design. We need to think about our strategies to design this gamified learning experience. This is the behavioral model of FOC. This is a very famous strategy or tool to design the gamification, but thinking in how to create habits. And this is important for our, it's not just, an activity or a quiz or isolated activity. This is, thinking about in long term or short or long term, the habitat we want to create. Avitica, for example, platform is a good example to this. It's a gamified platform that is thinking. Is a good example of this model. And we need to think also in that we, and not everybody wants or have fun with the same thing or the same strategy. We can find different player types in and in the literature. We can, for example, this is one of the examples, is the Marquesi hexa player type, and we can think that different type of players has different preferences in the in the strategies that we use to motivate them or to engage them. In education, if we think in the type according to Bartel, we have 4 types of players: killers, socializers, explorers, and achievers. But in education, the 80% are socializers. So we think that we need to create in the design experiences for everyone, every kind of players, but think in the social part, or in social strategies are important in the design, because the 80% are socializers and have fun and enjoy the social experiences. So again, the design is important, and according to Werbach, in education, if we think that this is an iterative cycle or iterative design, but with different steps, we need to also think in the goals, behaviors, and then the activity loops, and the fun. The fun is important for education, and also select the right tools to create all these experiences, all these experience. Some ideas is to, for example, use the repeated experimentation or inclusion of quick feedback loops, create, for example, the progressive intensification of the task difficulty, and, for example, divide also the complex task into shorter and simpler subtasks. Uh, some ideas to design the gamification for education are, important to the learning outcomes to promote the motivation, but also increase the learning, no? And we can found also several frameworks to help us in the designing of gamification. For example, the MDA is one of the very famous framework, mechanics, dynamic aesthetics, different components. This is we can find several the octalysis or the gamification model canvas help us to think in the planning of our activity, our gamified activity. I used to use these kind of things with my students in the Master of Education and ICT to help in the planification. We need to think first and then implement activity. This is another example of framework of gamification, and this is one of my favorite gamification. Maybe you know all of these. Is the gamification design framework. So we can find this, define problems, the users, the success. This is the definition part, and then, the build, the design the user journeys with all of the elements that I mentioned before, the behaviors, the mechanics, motivation, etc. And all of this is when you implement this, then receive the feedback and then refine the, the gamification design. Gamification, as I mentioned at the beginning, gamification is not, differs from the traditional game design process. We can just use some elements, some strategies. The main elements that I think that are needed for my in my case, in my context, with my learners, for my purpose. So thinking on this, I would like to know that we need to think that gamification in the past, I think that people think that one design works for everybody, but it's not true. In Coppens started to note that gender, for example, the design is not neutral. So we need to think that, for example, we can find differences and preferences regarding gender, for example. So we find that create more inclusive gamification design could be more effective to a wider audience. So, for example, in competition, if for example this is one of the elements of gamification competition, we can find differences in regarding gender, women and men. For example, the 45 women less like to enter to the competition. For example, the men are overconfident in competitions. So we can, find differences regarding gender, and we need to consider this in our design. The exact, for example, player types also found differences between the game elements and regarding, the gender in user types. And also another element or that is crucial for the inclusive gamification design is age. The eight different age groups could have differences and preferences in the game elements, also in the how they perceive and enjoy and engage the gamification activities or gamify activities. And in exact also found differences between ages, and it's not it's not less important to consider the culture also in gamification. So gender, culture, and age are three elements that we need to consider in our gamification design, in the inclusive gamification design. So, multicultural is a challenge for gamification. In our study that we conduct that with almost 1,000 people from different countries, Brazil, Canada, Spain, and in different parts here in Spain, we found differences regarding gender and age and culture also. It's not in the title, but it's in the content of paper. So for inclusive gamification design is important. This is a representation that I use in DALI with the prompt. I try to represent the in one image the importance of a game and gamification for different types of ages, cultures, and genders. So we need to remind what is inclusive design after all of this, because the British Standard Institute defined this in 2005. We need to, make accessible and usable as many people as possible our designs, and this applied to gamification design also, and also put these ideas in the process, of design. It's a human-centered design, but with the gamification, but understanding the player and understanding our goals first, no, the culture, etc., our goals. And this is a cycle of design in gamification, and we can apply this or think about it in our designers. Well, after to present the strategies and ideas for inclusive gamification design, in education we can find a lot of tools with different purpose. For example, mainly for in higher education, we use also we use several quizzes, like Kahoot, for example, is very famous, Socrative, WoClap, or Quizit, but we can find also platforms for other educational levels, like primary school or childhood school, like Class Dojo, for example, or a lot. We can find a lot of platforms that allow us to implement digital gamification. But we can find engines to connect to different platforms, for example, the X or Moodle or WordPress, etc. to gamify, to design the gamification and connect with other digital platforms, the platform that we use. And now we can also find in the this is a boom, no? It's artificial intelligence-based platforms, digital platforms for gamification, and this is one of example of the platform that allow to use artificial intelligence in the platform. But the other platforms that are incorporating AI modules also to gamify using supported by artificial intelligence. But we can use platforms that are not, to like Genially, for example, that has elements to gamified or to create gamified activities, but are not specifically created for gamification. And we can also use other platforms like Classcraft or there are, in the we can have in our hands a lot of tools to gamify and to use this in our classrooms. But we can not only use these kind of platforms or tools. We can think, for example, in very famous video games, thinking the narrative that our students are, motivated in the time in this time, or and convert or transform our activity using the characters or the narrative that based on the video games that they are, are playing at the time. After I'll talk about one activity that I designed using this strategy. And also Moodle, that's a very, famous and used platform, allow us to gamify our virtual classroom. For example, we can find gamification elements in Moodle. For example, we can use budgets created with external software, but we can use it give automatically or manually the budgets to our students. We can use the completion status to block and unblock some activities or contents, and we can create, for example, missions, challenges, etc., leaderboards, and we can have also the progression bar in Moodle. So Moodle with conditionals and some elements allow us the very basic installation of Moodle allow us to create a gamified experience and and personalize the experience also. As example, this is my virtual classroom for computer human computer interaction class. So I create, for example, some blog content with 5P activities, and this is an interactive video blog, and I combine. I don't know if you know how 5P works, but it's a open source platform and connected and integrated in Moodle, and we can create different activities and game-based activities and put in Moodle. And well, this is a very easy way to put this in our virtual classrooms. Also, I use Mozilla Hub to expand, the in other virtual reality platform to expand the experience, to create more immersive experience with my students. In this case, I use the narrative of Among Us. I don't know if you know the Among Us game, and combine with different groups, etc., talents, and in this platform. And in one project that we had, and I was the PI, sorry. We created different playful experiences, thinking in the with the in the methodology that we use. We apply the gender sensitive, value sensitive design to create intergenerational playful experiences for all. This is, for example, the tools that we create for designing inclusive experiences. We created tools, narrative tools, cards, etc., to create this, to help the designers in thinking, human values, ethical values, gender values, etc., to create this kind of inclusive experiences in the design of the digital and playful experiences. We use also online co-creation workshops to listen and to test our designs with older adults and with not only older adults sorry. I don't know what I did. Well, this. And we put, for example, virtual assistants in the design. And we also create platforms, gamified platforms for seniors with immersive experiences with different talents and games, cognitive games, math games, etc. And we create and we test in social spaces this kind of intergenerational playful experiences. And we created guidelines to create this kind of intergenerational playful experiences. This is I'm not reading the guidelines, but we create some ideas, and we introduce also social robots in the in the in the project to explore the potential of these kind of devices, because with this we not only create individual interaction with the platform or the device. This kind be used to create social and collaborative experiences. So we create this, and we create some games this is Pepper, and this is a new companion of our research group is Miko. Miko is especially designed for childhood education. And this kind of social robots includes generative AI. So this is a new, it's a new powerful tool also to introduce it in the gamified learning experiences. This is in the classroom. I use I'm testing in a research project the use of social robots for education and to create this kind of experiences. So as a conclusion, we think that games are necessary for all stages of life. Gamification can extract some game elements and provide better experiences in non-game contexts um, like education. And the inclusion uh, includes includes to consider all ages, races, religions, genders, and everything and we need to test with diverse people our solutions, our designs. So um, if we think in the personalization of gamification is another way to think in inclusive education, because we produce different experiences for different individuals according their needs. And I think that the future of gamification is to include the potential of the AI, the generative AI, etc., into the platforms and with other kind of devices that can help to create more engaging experiences like social robots. So, well, it's time to test you about your knowledge. So, please join to a very quick quiz to test you. This is the who are and
Okay, Professor Gonzalez, for the interest of time, how long do you think this quiz is?
just 5 questions,
Okay.
only 5.
Okay.
So I think that if you are I you know are you ready? Okay. What is the main objective of gamification? Okay, well, we can see that the main objective is to increase motivation of activity carry out in non-gaming environments, and everybody was right. Okay, next. Wow, badly. What is the one of the most well-known definitions? Gamification. Okay. Oh, everybody okay is right. The correct definition of gamification is the application of game design elements in not game contents. Okay. Apple. But, well, it's question of time, nothing more. Next. What type of activities that unplug gamification refer to education? Gamification education refers to physical and non-digital activities that incorporate gaming elements in learning process, making it an interactive and engaging way to teach. Everybody, again, is perfect. Apple is the winner. Okay, what elements can be used in gamification in Moodle? Okay. Point, badges, and leaderboards are elements commonly used in gamification in Moodle. Okay, perfect. But one is no. Okay, Barley. And now, the topic. What is one of the goals of inclusive gamification? Is to make it interesting for all ages, races, abilities, religions, and genders, not limiting or excluding any specific group. Perfect. So well, Barley, Apple, the winner. Yes, this is the end of our quiz and our presentation, and the winner is Apple. So thank you very much for participate in this short quiz and this talk. And I'm happy to answer any question.
Yep. Thank you, Professor Gonzalez. Thank you, Professor Gonzalez, for your time and a very interesting talk and introduction to gamification. Neil has a comment.
Yeah, I was just thinking, should we move on to the panel discussion?
Yeah.
A quick question each, just in terms of timing.
Yes. So to introduce Professor Andreas Stoffel and Mr. John Relis, our panelists, and let's open with a question for you. What aspects of Professor Karina's presentation especially resonated with you?
Well, just to begin with, I think the most important question for gamification in practical education is how to use it and how to make it part of one's educational practice. And so I think it's very helpful to see how easy to use specific elements are already. But of course, I think we have to focus that many professors still are not in that position of, I would say, being digital literated well enough to use all these possibilities at the moment. So I think your talk, Karina, showed me once again that we had a good idea in focusing on this specific topic for our project Ignition. I think that's still a way to go to not only make people aware that this is a helpful tool, but to show them how to get there. And I know this from my practice, but it's always a very difficult question putting into a productive state of work, not only into a concept. Yes.
Well, thanks, Andreas. Yes, when we think in, in gamification, we can create a lot of activities, and the concept as we can see, is a very wide topic to explore, and maybe we need a workshop, for example, to implement the gamification in Moodle, for example. It can be useful, or to develop a project. But maybe we can need not just 1 hour, we need more, to test your solutions, or to work in groups with other colleagues to create something, something, some activities. I developed some workshops using this. But I think that the main point is to think that gamification is useful. Not everybody think, think that gamification is useful or works. This is one of the main reasons, because I put some references to different studies that for demonstrate that that there are research that prove that gamification works. But it's not the same to design, for example, a long term in 3 years. For one of the research project that I had was, for example, for to childhood obesity, to reduce and to change the behaviors in children. And this is a long-term project, 3 years, that, for example, conduct the use of Kahoot, or one activity, or the design of virtual classroom, a gamified virtual classroom using H5P, or different kind of things. It's an innovation practice. So depending on your interest, your abilities, or digital skills, you can, create different, and your particular context is very specific. So the design is specific. It's not, one for everybody. So maybe if I try to show different examples, concepts, but also examples of application of the creation of gamified activities in different projects. But it's not just one unique thing, or just one tool.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Andres.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. And John, I want to get your reaction as well.
Sure. Excellent presentation. Thank you. And I think the quiz at the end, you could see kind of people who had their camera on, at least, kind of light up a small bit with it, which I think is a good example of how gamification kind of works. I suppose the one thing you touched on, which I kind of particularly interested in, is kind of the multiple pathways kind of to achieve a goal that is probably more prevalent in the gaming world, where you have one decision leads to another and you go different directions. And how that might suit different types of learners. So like, visual kind of learners, solitary learners, and social kind of learners as well. And I suppose kind of with the pathways and different types of learners, I think you have to kind of mix in, which I think you did mention, which was kind of great, was the preference of the kind of gaming preference of the user as well. Because for my own preference, as soon as experience points come into a game, I lose all interest. Like, so I'm like, I just don't care. I just like playing a game to play a game. So I suppose I'm just curious, like, is there any kind of correlation between all those things, kind of learning types, gamer types, with kind of how successful gamification could be, with learners?
Yes, in one project that I had I had, well, we test the learning styles first and the player types, and then we design the path using, with different activities to different students. So at the beginning, we test the player, and learning styles. But you know that learning styles are at this moment are not in a good moment because they say that learning styles doesn't exist, etc. But also but uh, we also design in our subject in the different path, and the student decide at the beginning, what type of activities they can, for example, do different projects or based by content or task, etc. And we design different paths. I know that is more work for us, for as teachers, but we have this kind of designs in our virtual classroom, not in all of, in just in one subject that we had in the Master of Education and ICT. So at the beginning, we have a questionnaire to the test to measure this, and then we have different blocks in the modules in the virtual classroom, and with different proposals to types of students and players.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah, and I think we will continue this conversation remotely as well because it's a huge area of discussion. But for now, Professor Gonzalez, thanks so much. Thanks to our panel members as well. Neil, you'd like to say some final words?
That was just a clap. So thanks very much, Karina. Lovely to hear from you. And let's keep in touch. Thanks very much.
Yes. Thank you very much. Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
folks.
Thank you.